Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Paul and Fuad. Right, Joe, we are going to turn our attention now to Premier League players. Sort of looking at most improved, aren't we? There's been a few players that have had a significantly good 2024. What's the plan? The whiteboard is out?
Yeah, we want to see the most improved players this season, kind of categorising it also against how they did last season. Who has got better?
Yeah.
In a significant way. We're going to go from 10 to 1 in reverse order. Fuad, you're leading this. You've got your list of 10 names. Let's start at number 10. Who do you think is most improved?
Number 10, I have Elliot Anderson.
Big shout.
Nottingham Forest signee this summer. I think caught everybody by surprise this season. Pretty much a squad player at Newcastle last year. I think only had 11 starts, but already has 5 assists in 15 games this season. I think has formed a nice little double pivot with Yates behind Morgan Gibbs-White, and just offers something a little bit different to what Sangare and Dominguez were offering last season. A little bit more creativity, a little bit more on-ball ability. And I think someone who Newcastle fans have previously always rated, and maybe they'll now kind of regret letting go because you're kind of finally starting to see him blossom a little bit. But it's always good to see young talents kind of, when they get the opportunity, they actually take it with both hands. And I think when he made that move, it was a bit left field. Nobody was surprised, especially with the price as well, and the fact that he hadn't played a lot, but the fact that he's delivering the goods.
The thing is, I think Newcastle didn't want to lose.
No.
It was a PSR kind of sale in the end, wasn't it? And it was quite a big fee on paper, but then Vlachodimos went the other way, and it kind of offset the fee a little bit, and he has just been remarkably good.
This is one of those things that happens in football sometimes, doesn't it, where I don't think you're right. Newcastle ideally probably wouldn't have chosen that, but when you're balancing the books and football becomes transactional, he's sort of, you know, had to pay the price himself, had to get that move, and I love that. I love when some footballers just kind of go, actually, well, no, I'll step up and prove it, and prove it.
Valid point with Newcastle though as well, because Eddie Howe's spoken about the fact that it was a lot down to PSR, as you saw with Minter as well. There's players they didn't want to necessarily sell, but they had to. So it's a good shout. So he is down as your 10th most improved player of 2024. This is in reverse order, don't forget, so we'll culminate in your best or most improved player, I should say. So who have you got at number 9?
Number 9, I have gone for Alex Iwobi at Fulham.
So underrated, man.
So underrated. And I feel like he's been someone who's been steadily improving since his last year at Everton. But at 28 now, I think you're starting to see him take on that maturity, that leadership. And in a Fulham team where, as I said before, it's almost like a band of misfits. Emil Smith-Rowe joining in the summer, Nelson joining. He's kind of taken the mantle as the senior statesman. And this season, I think he's got 5 goals, 3 assists.
Do you know, he has 5 Premier League goals this season, which equals his career best, which was last season. So you see the career trajectory he's going on. He's also, incredible stat, he's got the joint most successful passes into the box this season of any player in the entire Premier League, equal with Cole Palmer.
He makes that side tick, and I'm a little almost embarrassed to say that I used to hold him up as an example of, like, again, I always bring it back to Everton, but when they got that injection of cash, their approach to transfers was like filter by interested, buy most expensive, and Alex Iwobi was like my example of, we'll just buy Alex Iwobi. But you know, he's the go-to guy in that Fulham team. Again, saw it last week. You know, when they're playing well, it's because he's playing well. They're getting him on the ball, and
If you notice, like Pereira last year was almost like the chief creator. He's taken over that mantle as well. So credit to him. I think it takes a lot, and finally living up to the potential he was hyped up to at Arsenal eventually. So number 9.
Okay, stick him in at number 9 then.
Okay, number 8.
Number 8, I have gone for Marc Cucurella. Who,
this is an interesting shout, isn't it? He's had such a good, like, last 5-6 months.
Honestly, I think he's possibly the best left back in the Premier League at the moment, because he's just carried on his form from the Euros, I would say, because you're looking at Guardiola, kind of the way he's fallen off his form this season. Udogie, I feel like he's kind of tailed off a little bit. He is someone who I feel like consistently this season, going forward, adding goals midweek as well into his game, right foot finish, edge of the box. But he's someone who had a lot of doubters, and I think when he joined from Brighton, there was a lot of question marks. Last season, I felt like there were spells. He showed he can do something. I remember he covered at right back for a period and did really well, but then at left back, he kept getting caught out again. This season, Maresca has found a way to just get those little chinks out of his game, and then now you're seeing kind of the real Cucurella that we saw at Brighton.
He comes across as like a character, doesn't he? And I think sometimes that can be damaging to footballers. Like, he's a bit daft and he's not a serious football player. This season he's been a serious football player. Maybe needs to choose his footwear a little bit better. I think he'll probably admit that. But it's surprising how... I've been a little surprised at how consistent he's been, to be perfectly honest, because I thought he was more like, from a Liverpool perspective, it reminds me a bit of Tsimikas in that year. He seems like, he just seems like more of a character than what you want you guys just to crack on with the job. But he's done them both this season.
Another left-back contender, potentially, Anthony Robinson. Just want to throw that name in there where you're talking about best left-backs in the league.
He was someone I was definitely considering. The only thing I would say is I feel like Robinson's been performing at a very high, consistent level over the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, totally
so in terms of most improved, I wouldn't say he's improved.
I agree with that.
Good.
I think Anthony Robinson has consistently been up
Brilliant,
there and almost been, if this was an underrated list, you'd have Anthony Robinson there.
Fully.
Heavily linked with...
He'd be top 3,
arguably. I agree,
The boys over there.
Serious player. OK, number 7.
We've got for another
player.
Chelsea player.
Chelsea man.
And that's Nicolas Jackson.
OK.
And I think he has been brilliant this season in terms of link-up play, hold-up play. Last season was being criticised for missing a lot of big chances. This season he's already into double figures already. I think the price he came in for as well, people forget, 32 million. And I think the pressure on him was almost like he was a 70 million signing. In the summer, if you spoke to Chelsea fans, they would have told you probably a number 9 is a position they need to address. Now, I feel like this is a striker they feel like they can hang their hat on for the rest of the season. And it's the devastation he offers in the counter-attack as well, I think, is something that's understated. Maresca has been able to get that team, when they go running in that direction, guys like him, Madueke, they are absolute weapons.
He's a player that does split opinion, isn't he, on social media? Because a lot of people look at the stats of big chances missed, which was going around last season. But for context, and to be fair to me, he has scored 9 goals and 3 assists already this season. And he did get 14 goals and 5 assists last season as well. So where do you stand on the Nicolas Jackson debate?
I really like Nicolas Jackson. I think one of the beautiful things about not really having, like, you know, I'm not a Chelsea fan, I'm not a Nicolas Jackson fan, but I love to see when people really give a player stick and then them like kind of prove them all wrong, really. I think he was getting loads of unfair criticism. For me, he was got in the right positions. I thought his movement was always superb. I thought he was always, you've got to be there. And look, and bear in mind, you know, I watched Darwin Núñez play.
No, I was just about to ask, as a Liverpool fan, if you see comparisons with Núñez and Jackson in that they do split opinion, but...
Well, yeah, because obviously Erling Haaland was the archetype. That's what everyone was looking to buy that summer. Haaland was top of the list and everyone else was shopping in and around that. Liverpool get Núñez, obviously Jackson goes there, Højlund goes to Manchester United, and they were all being criticised for not being lethal in front of goal. It's not really worked for Højlund. Darwin Núñez continue. If you talk about splitting opinion, that guy, and then Jackson's just coming in and quietly doing the business. I think he's really good.
Stick him up. There we go.
His record at Chelsea is just so good.
Yeah,
so underrated.
A lot of goals. Let's move on to number 6.
Number 6, I have gone for Jhon Duran. A man who I think this season has taken the Premier League by storm.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
The goals he is scoring, I've said they're almost like heat checks. He's just checking the temperature to see, are you ready, goalkeeper? And he just launches it. Champions League, Premier League, and I think he's only had 2 starts in the Premier League as well.
He's got the best minutes per goal ratio of any player in the Premier League this season.
3 starts now,
It's actually so scary, and you almost start to feel like he's starting to finally dislodge Ollie Watkins. Obviously, he's not been in the greatest form this season, but this is actually his 3rd season at Aston Villa. And previous seasons, I feel like he's always shown glimpses, but this season we're now starting to see the real deal. Come from the MLS as well, and I don't think we've seen many players come over from the MLS and impress the way he has as well.
Fair point. OK, stick him up.
Yeah, I have to say as well about Jhon Duran, like, Chelsea really wanted to sign him in the summer. Like, maybe the recruitment, Chelsea's recruitment department.
I remember at the time, people were calling Chelsea crazy for wanting to bid that much, but...
It's so good.
Joe's happy with your 5th pick.
5th pick, I have gone
number 5.
Amad Diallo, and it's hard to ignore this kid this season. I feel like Ten Hag almost tried to keep him shackled up and not let us see the best of this boy, but since Amorim has taken over, he has taken over the keys of the team.
Yeah.
He is the creative linchpin. He's direct, he's quick, he's strong. The press
is crazy.
We saw midweek the press and what he did to Forster, so I think he really sets the tone. And in terms of if United are moving forward, this is who they need to build around.
He's done that 3 or 4 times.
United fan?
Absolutely ridiculous. He wasn't getting more minutes under Erik ten Hag. Honestly, criminal offence that was. But what we're seeing now is clearly the emergence of like a massive level talent. If you're able to do what he's doing in the shambles that has been Manchester United, you're even more special. I think if Amad was playing for a club that was more settled and had a much more clearer pathway, a much more clearer way of playing, we would be talking about one of the best young players in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
Bubbly,
So
exciting,
good.
attacking. You can see exactly why Ten Hag didn't like him. Because he's everything Ten Hag isn't.
Technically so outstanding.
Massive in the FA Cup semi, massive in the derby as well.
Yeah, big game.
Turns up in a big game, so...
And you have to be able to work hard, despite the fact you can be as talented as you want, as we've seen with plenty of Manchester United players in the past. If you don't want to press, if they don't want to work backwards, it's not going to work. And Amad works like a dog.
Yeah.
So good.
So let's go on to 4. Now, 4, this is an interesting one, because when Joe and I saw this, and we're not saying we don't rate Chris Wood, that's our exact point. I'm surprised he's in a most improved, because he was great last season.
He scored 14 last year.
14 goals last season. I always feel like Chris Wood's been consistently good for a long time, but people are only just recognising that.
I feel like he wasn't given enough flowers last season.
Okay.
And even when he got the 14 goals, I felt like it was almost gone under the radar. Like, his last season.
Was he in your fantasy team last season? That's the question.
Probably not.
No,
probably not.
He's in everyone's.
But has he improved, though? Because he feels to me that he's been consistently good for a little while now.
Listen, I'm terrible at fantasy football, so me getting into my team is not necessarily the achievements that maybe I'm pitching it as. But no, I agree with that. I had no idea that he'd scored that many goals, and maybe it's a PR thing. Maybe it's the fact that Forest it's having a meaningful impact on Forest league position as well.
I think
because they're right up there. But no, I did not bat an eyelid when I saw that he was going to be in there.
I think that's the thing is last year it was kind of more in the doldrums. Now it's kind of being done more in the European places. But I think the career recovery from what I've seen, because at Newcastle he was in the wilderness, and now all of a sudden leading man for Forest.
Proper underrated player,
as well, isn't it? Like, he's one of, I can't imagine there's many strikers or players, but he's the top goal scorer in Premier League history for 2 clubs, for Burnley and now for Forest. So I think there's probably not many players that have been able to say
also,
that.
Premier League Player of the Month for October. First time a Forest player's ever won that award, and last season was his joint best scoring season in the Premier League. So
top guy as well, isn't he?
He's already not far off his tally there as well.
Brilliant. Right, let's get into top 3 now, because we get into the business end.
The business end, and we start with Moises Caicedo in 3rd place. This man plays the beautiful game the right way. All action, all purpose, everywhere. You're seeing it at right back, centre mid. No matter what partner he's partnered up with this season as well, whether it's Enzo, whether it's Lavia, he is playing out of his skin. And I think he's getting back to that Brighton level, if not performing at an even better level.
Definitely.
But what a player, in my opinion.
Ooh, Paul. What's the expression?
Too much money, poor choice of transfer for him last summer. Not having Moises. Again, I can't. In pure bias, I was quite pleased that he didn't have a good season last year on the back of all the transfer sort of stuff. But you're right. Like, there's a player there, and there's so much. His ceiling's so high, and he's still young enough that how good could this guy actually get? And to see him kind of finding his footing, the Lavia thing's really interesting as well, because actually seeing him play some minutes alongside, that is the future of Chelsea's midfield. Those two, they've got everything.
Okay, the best midfielder in the league. Sorry, just throw that in there, because that debate has been happening online.
We will address that very shortly.
Oh, okay, I like that. Top 2 now, so 2nd most improved player. Who have you gone for?
Now we're getting into real midfield category.
Decky.
Dejan Kulusevski, number 2. When we talk about improvements, when we talk about glow-ups, I think as Spurs fans, we've always said it's not the ability that we doubt, it's just the consistency. This season, dare I say, he's playing at a Ballon d'Or level. Big games.
What level?
You heard me. He's playing at a Ballon d'Or level.
Come on.
Listen, maybe at Tottenham Hotspurs, you might say, OK, he's not competing for silverware, but the level of individual
Ballon d'Or level.
I mean, Vinicius Jr. doesn't get a look in, but mid-table Tottenham Hotspurs, Dejan Kulusevski is
7
nailed on.
in the league. A Ballon d'Or level.
Maybe there's a little bit of bias.
I was about to... do you know what you've done there, Fuad?
I went too far.
I'm his biggest fan. I think he's been unbelievable. The way that he's shifted his position, how he's played, how versatile he is, how he reads the game. I was going to agree with everything. And then he said Ballon d'Or, and he just went, Fuad, I can't go.
Listen, I got to run.
You always have to go too far.
I'm sorry. But no, what he's been offering this season in terms of right wing, centre mid, off the ball, I think very much gets undersold what he does off the ball as well, because technically he's brilliant, but
he has been Spurs' best player this season, and
easily,
consistently, and in the big games as well. What is your take on? And also, what I think, who I know is going to come at 1, is a similar trait in that there's been a slight positional change. I think what Andrew's done very well here is that you've seen him play a number 10 role, but also out wide. Have you been impressed with how he can play both roles well?
No, 100%. Because for me, when he came in, he was playing on the wing, and I know Spurs fans were raving over him, and it felt like he kind of dipped off since that. I mean, I've ultimately almost forgotten about him, to be perfectly honest. And then this season, the fact that he can shift him into the 10, he can still go and do a job out wide. He's obviously got the pace, he's got an eye for goal. He's a handful. He's one of those players that I can see how you could get carried away with him, because he's one of those players you'd love to see play for your football.
It was very similar, him and Diaz, because they came in at the same time.
There was a massive comparison, wasn't there, on social?
For the first 6 months, they both almost sold us a dream of being the best players ever, and then it was a bit of inconsistency.
Best award winner, Luis Diaz feud.
But then now this season, you're starting to see they're getting back to levels.
Good shout.
Okay, number one.
And then number one, without a shadow of a doubt, most improved player this season and the best midfielder in the Premier League, Ryan Gravenberch. Yeah. This guy, I think in the summer, Liverpool fans were talking about we need to address our defensive midfield position, and he just said, hold up, lads, I've got the position sorted. I don't think there's a better player receiving the ball on the half turn in the world. This guy glides when he has the ball. I'm not even joking. Am I lying here, Paul?
Yeah, he's playing at a Ballon level right now. Can we just be clear?
Yes.
Joe and I massively rate Gravenberch and Kulusevski, but some of the
I'm going overboard because that's how good these guys are playing, honestly. And I feel like people aren't giving them their credit. They need their flowers.
100%. Listen, Liverpool's biggest critique of Liverpool's transfer policy this summer was not going out and buying a DM. Yeah. And Ryan Gravenberch, nobody looked at that and went, this guy's going to be the answer. Everyone thought it'll be Alexis McAllister again.
A lot of people were critical of that at the time. You're right.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, and it still remains a thing. You know, if Liverpool were to go into the transfer market in January, they probably still wouldn't mind it because he's doing it at the DM. He's the best one at the moment, I think, in form-wise in the Premier League, and it might not even be his best position. Liverpool could buy a specialist, and he could actually get even better being pushed further up the pitch. He has been a revelation. Every time he takes the pitch, I see something from him that I didn't know he had, and I'm constantly wowed.
Stick him up. No disagreement. So there is confirmation of the 10 most improved players in 2024 by Fuad. So let's chuck some. Go on, Paul. Any alternatives that you would have had if you were doing that, or names that you should think be on the list?
I have to mention Ibrahima Konate, and I know this is a guy who's, he's not an unknown quantity. Everyone knows who Konate is, but bear in mind, last season he lost his place to Gerald Quansah. You know, he lost his place to a lad who'd been on loan in like League One, I think the season before, and he couldn't get in the team. He was really poor at times, Konate, last year, and he's had injury issues and whatever. He doesn't even start the season. He comes on a half-time, first game of the season at Ipswich, and he's had a little injury of late, which is not his fault. I think Van Dijk cleaned him out, but he's been sensational. This is a guy who I think was the best player in the Champions League final a few years back, and he's right back to that level. He might even have been better than Van Dijk at times this season.
Any other names, Fuad, that were close when you were doing this?
I think Brennan Johnson was one I thought about. I think Brennan Johnson's had a good spell this season.
6 goals and assists already.
Similarly silenced a lot of doubt as well. And I think that's the thing with a lot of the players here. They've kind of had either doubters last year or kind of had consistency issues. And I feel like he's been one of those that's kind of...
Couple of the names, Milos Kerkez, we were chatting about, Ole Aina.
I think Ole Aina has to be a contender.
Smith Rowe, I'd chuck in there, in terms of what he's done at Fulham as well.
I think from last season to this season, one of the players that's impressed me the most is Mikael Damsgaard. I think Mikael Damsgaard's rise in that Brentford side, who have been excellent, by the way, like especially at home, he's maybe their most key player, despite the fact that Burma and Vista get the goals. It's like Damsgaard. Last season he was forgotten about.
Semenyo's another one as well.
Yeah, Semenyo as well.
Ryan Christie, by the way, most possession won in the Premier League this season, Ryan Christie.
He never puts a foot wrong, Ryan Christie.
No, a couple of other names there. Let us know what you think at home. There is confirmation, as we say, of the board, but any other shouts that we've forgotten about? They've got Ryan Gravenberch as the most improved player, which Paul agrees with. Some good shouts there. Enjoyed that.